Okay, so when we're looking at deadlift then, there's a lot of people that sort of like try and slate people to say that their back's too rounded, or, you know, the deadlift form is poor. Now, as much as, yes, there is some terrible lifting technique that you see, it's understanding the limit and understanding what's good and what's bad. And also for the individual. So what I mean by this is you'll see some, you know, some of the strongest lifters in the world have a rounded back. Now, the point is, and something that I want to make important to understand, is that if you have a rounded back and it doesn't continue to round as you go through the movement, and then it's not bad. And that simply is it. I mean, sometimes, don't get me wrong, like with a deadlift suit, it pulls you into a rounded position. So actually, you've got no sort of like, or it's harder to push back anyway. But point being, if you are a good deadlifter, and if you're deadlifting a lot and you have a rounded back, it isn't a problem. Let me just show you what I mean to look at the movement as well. So for example, if you're in the start of your deadlift position, if I was to deadlift now and my back was to continue to round as I pull the bar up, and I find myself in this position and then straightening off, that is a bad technique, okay? It just is. And the reason it is because you are elongating your muscles, everything is stretching out, your vertebrae isn't being supported, and you're probably going to slip a disc at some point. It's as simple as that. And that's because you're not using your brace, you're not locking your back in, and ultimately your back isn't strong enough to do the movement. So for anybody that is in that position, you need to work on back positioning and back strengthening exercises. So things like rows, anything that is pulling your back into that position. The other thing is I want to say though is when you see people do a rounded deadlift and think that it's bad, this is a version that isn't so bad as such, but it's more acceptable because it stays rounded. So again, let's say I was to start in this rounded position here and to pull up and it stays rounded and then I lock up at the top. Now that technically is a movement pattern that isn't going to damage your back, because again your muscles aren't elongating and stretching even more, and you're keeping reasonably braced. That being said, yes, the aim is to get your back as straight as you can and obviously as braced as possible. So for you guys who are sort of like wondering, is it bad, is it good, or what sort of thing, video yourself from the side, from the front, from a 45-degree angle, look at your positioning and try and figure out sort of like where your weakness is, and then you'll be able to pick it out and work on it in the rest of your training.